Today, Campaign for Uyghurs, the World Uyghur Congress, Uyghur Academy, and the Center for Uyghur Studies, and our dear friends, we've gathered here today to commemorate the Ghulja Massacre, which took place 26 years ago. On February 5th, 1997, a peaceful Uyghur protesters were violently struck by the Chinese state security forces. The incident marks an outstanding precedent of the ongoing Uyghur genocide being perpetrated by the Chinese regime in Chinese-occupied East Turkestan. During the mid-90s, the Chinese authorities prohibited Massacre, labeling it as a threat. Massacre is a traditional Uyghur social gathering which has historically had positive influences on Uyghur community. This prohibition was a catalyst for the arrest of thousands of Uyghurs who organized for the participation of Massacre. In 1997, a group of Uyghur women were arrested for gathering at home for conducting religious practices. This sparked thousands of people to peacefully protest on the streets of Ghulja on February 5, 1997. Protesters demanded the release of detainees and called for religious and cultural freedom in reaction to these restrictions. The protesters were obviously immediately squashed by the Chinese security forces, killing hundreds, arresting many, and thousands of injuries, which led to arrests, court sentences, hefty prison sentences, and executions. The Ghulja Massacre was a preview of the now fully implemented Uyghur genocide, which is now taking place in Chinese-occupied East Turkestan. The Chinese regime has been long practicing its crimes against humanity and genocide under the flag of counterterrorism, extremism, and separatism, and has taken the lives of innocent Uyghurs. The Ghulja Massacre was an early warning sign which the world didn't wake up to. The silence of the international community at the time encouraged the CCP to upscale their oppression of Uyghurs. If the world continues to stand by and watch the Uyghur genocide, which is threatening the world's democracy, the consequences will be disastrous. We honor the memory of the victims and commit to fighting for the freedom of the Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims who are suffering in Chinese-occupied East Turkestan. We also remind the world that the Uyghur genocide still continues, and we urge governments and everyone to take tangible actions to stop this bloody regime, this murder regime, from committing its ongoing genocide. Freedom for Uyghurs!
Freedom for Uyghurs!
Fascist China!
Fascist China!
Terrorist China!
Terrorist China!
Terrorist!
China!
Terrorist!
China!
Murderer!
China!
Murderer!
China!
Murderer!
China!
Fascist!
China!
Fascist!
China!
China lies!
People die!
China lies!
People die!
Stop the Uyghur!
Genocide!
Stop the Uyghur!
Genocide!
China lies!
People die!
China lies!
People die!
Stop the Uyghur!
Genocide!
Stop the Uyghur!
Genocide!
What do we want?
Freedom!
When do we want it?
No!
What do we want?
Freedom!
When do we want it?
No!
Freedom for!
Uyghurs!
Freedom for! Down with the CCP!
Down with the CCP!
Down with the! Down with the!
CCP!
Down with the!
CCP!
Down with the!
CCP!
Down with!
CCP!
Down with!
CCP!
Down with!
CCP!
Who kills?
China!
Who kills?
China!
Who murders?
China!
Who murders?
China!
Who rapes?
China!
Who rapes?
China!
China lies!
People die!
China lies!
People die!
Stop the Uyghur!
Genocide!
Stop the Uyghur!
Genocide!
China lies!
People die!
China lies!
People die!
Stop the Uyghur!
Genocide!
Stop the Uyghur!
Genocide!
Freedom for Uyghurs!
Freedom for Uyghurs!
Fascist!
China!
Fascist!
China!
Shame on!
China!
Shame on!
China!
Shame on!
China!
Shame on!
China!
Freedom for!
Uyghurs!
Freedom for! Freedom for! Close the concentration camps! Close the concentration camps! Close these Nazi camps! Close these Nazi camps! Freedom for is Turkestan! Close the concentration camps! Freedom for is Turkestan! Close the concentration camps! Freedom for! Freedom for! Freedom for! Freedom for! What do we want? What do we want? The windows are closed. They need to hear us. So shout. What do we want? What do we want? Where do we want it? Where do we want it? Freedom. Freedom for. Freedom for. Shame on. Shame on. Shame on. Down with. Down with. Down with. Down with. Murderer. Murderer. Fascist. Fascist. Terrorist. 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 Murderer. Killer. Killer China. Stop the killing, stop the hate. China is a terror state. Freedom for Uyghurs.
Freedom for Uyghurs.
Justice for Uyghurs.
Justice for Uyghurs.
Independence for East Turkestan.
Independence for East Turkestan.
Out, out, China out.
Out, out, China out.
Out of East Turkestan now.
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 We want freedom.
We want freedom.
China lies.
People die.
China lies.
People die.
Shame on China.
Shame on China.
Shame on.
China.
Shame on.
China.
Fascist.
China.
Fascist.
China.
Nazi.
China.
Nazi.
China.
Who cares?
China.
Who cares?
China.
Who rapes?
China.
Who rapes?
China.
Who tortures?
China.
Who tortures?
China.
Freedom for Uyghur!
Freedom for Uyghurs.
Freedom for Uyghur!
Freedom for Uyghurs.
Independence for East Turkestan!
Independence for East Turkestan.
Independence for Tibetan!
Independence for Tibetan.
Independence for Southern Mongolian!
Independence for Southern Mongolia.
We want freedom!
We want freedom.
We want justice!
We want justice.
We want justice!
We want justice.
Out, out, China out!
Out, out, China out.
Out of East Turkestan now!
Out of East Turkestan now.
China out of East Turkestan now!
China out of East Turkestan now.
Freedom for Uyghurs!
Freedom for Uyghurs.
Freedom for Uyghurs!
Freedom for Uyghurs.
China shut down the concentration camp!
China shut down the concentration camp.
China shut down the concentration camp!
China shut down the concentration camp.
Free our sisters!
Free our sisters.
Free our brothers!
Free our brothers.
Free our parents!
Free our parents.
Free all innocent Uyghurs!
Free our innocent Uyghurs.
Free all innocent Uyghurs!
Free our innocent Uyghurs. Murder Xi Jinping.
Murderer Xi Jinping!
Killer CCP.
Killer Xi Jinping!
Fascist CCP. Fascist CCP. Nazi CCP.
Nazi CCP!
Down with the CCP.
Down with the CCP!
Independence for East Turkestan.
Independence for East Turkestan.
Independence for Tibet.
Independence for Tibet.
Freedom for Hong Kong.
Freedom for Hong Kong.
Independence for Southern Mongolia.
Independence for Southern Mongolian.
Freedom for Chinese people.
Freedom for Chinese people.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want freedom.
We want freedom.
Shame on China.
Shame on China.
Shame, shame, shame on China.
Shame, shame, shame on China.
Justice for Uyghurs.
Justice for Uyghurs.
Freedom for Uyghurs.
Freedom for Uyghurs.
Independence for East Turkestan. Independence for Tibet.
Independence for Tibet.
Independence for Southern Mongolia.
Independence for Southern Mongolia.
Freedom for Hong Kong.
Freedom for Hong Kong.
Down with CCP.
Down with CCP.
Down with CCP.
Down with CCP.
Murderer Xi Jinping.
Murderer Xi Jinping.
Killer CCP.
Killer CCP.
Killer CCP.
Killer CCP.
Shame on China.
Shame on China.
Shame on China.
Shame on China.
We want freedom.
We want freedom.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want dignity.
We want dignity.
We want respect.
We want respect.
Down with CCP. Down CCP.
Down CCP.
Shame on China.
Shame on China.
Independence for East Turkestan.
Independence for East Turkestan.
Independence for East Turkestan.
Independence for East Turkestan.
Independence for Tibet.
Independence for Tibet.
Independence for Southern Mongolia.
Independence for Southern Mongolia.
Freedom for Hong Kong.
Freedom for Hong Kong.
Killer Xi Jinping.
Killer Xi Jinping.
Murderer CCP.
Murderer CCP.
Nazi China.
Nazi China.
Fascist China.
Fascist China.
We want respect.
We want respect.
We want freedom.
We want freedom.
We want justice.
We want justice.
Gap qilib, biraz namash qilib, oyoqqa chiqib. Mana qanday qilamiz? Mayli. Today we gathered here with Uyghurs from New York area and the Mongolians, Tibetans, and Chinese democracy activists the marked the 26th anniversary of Ghulja Massacre, which took place in Ghulja City in February 1997. China started this murderous genocide from the 90s. That was the beginning. They killed hundreds of young Uyghur people in the 20s and 30s simply because they protested against China's repression of Uyghur cultural rights and freedom of speech, freedom of cultural exercises. And then ever since then, China has been speeding up the repression. They banned Uyghur language, they banned Uyghur culture, they gradually, now they even banning the Uyghur identity altogether, and they're locking up the Uyghurs in concentration camps, forced marriage, and they forced labor. They do terrible things that the Hitler Germany even couldn't do. And a lot of people in China, they brainwashed, they still don't say anything against this atrocity. And we're supposed to be neighbors, but after this, people kept silent. How the people can live together after this, after they did this terrible thing. And it's people in China and outside, regardless of ethnicity, they have to speak up when they see something wrong. They have to speak up. This is not about politics. This is not about
China. This is about human dignity. This is about being a human. When you see somebody subjected to that kind of cruelty, you have to speak up. Otherwise, you have no difference from those who are doing these terrible things to our people. People have to speak up, and the whole world now waking up to the cruelty of the China because what they did to the Uyghurs. Now, but I know the CCP never take responsibility for their actions. They always blame others, always find somebody to blame for their own failures, their own cruelties, and that it's always our fault, always somebody else's fault, because they never take responsibility for their actions. And the whole world needs to wake up. CCP has to go because they only know one thing: cruelty. Whenever they have power, they don't use it for the good of humanity, good for the Chinese people and others. They use to unleash terror on people. They did that to Uyghurs. They were nice in the, like, when they didn't have leverage against Uyghurs in the 50s. They sweeping the courtyards. They doing nice things, people, because they want to give a good impression. And they did exactly the same after they occupied Tibet in 1957. They did the exact thing. They played nice against for Tibetans until they had enough power, until they had enough leverage, and did the exact same thing for Hong Kong. And the world needs to wake up. They're going to do the exact same thing. They never respect the rule of the international rule. When they have enough power, they're going to unleash the terror they've been unleashing on Uyghurs and others. The world needs to wake up, and even Chinese people, they deserve better than CCP. They need to deserve better than this regime, and they have to have freedom just like everybody else in the world. I think that the Chinese people need to speak up, and the Chinese CCP has to go. They are not suitable for 21st century. Thank you for coming to show support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone. We are welcome everyone's support, and thank you. With this, we conclude our demonstration in front of Chinese mission in UN. Thank you.
Thank